Coming up on iOS today, we are going to show you how to connect with your family while you stay at home and plan for the holidays ahead.
And I'm going to show you how you can take great pictures of everybody without moving.
Before I round things out with a way to edit and adjust those NFC tags you have, because you definitely have a lot of those, right? It's iOS Today! iOS Today is brought to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. We know you're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit LastPass.com/TWiT to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by LastPass. Give your IT and security leaders control of password security with the award-winning LastPass. Visit LastPass.com/TWiT to find out how they can help you. And by Peak Design. They've just launched their 10th campaign on Kickstarter, Mobile by Peak Design, an ecosystem of cases, mounts, and accessories that make your phone a better tool for everything you do, including the new iPhone 12. To learn more, go to peakdesign.com/TWiT. Hello and welcome back to iOS Today. You'll notice that sitting to my left, yes, my left, it's not Leo Laporte, who is currently on vacation, but I am happy to be joined again by the one and only, the very awesome, the super cool, it's Rosemary Orchard. Rosemary, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Micah. I always love coming in and helping you out whenever you need a friend, so here I am.
Thank you for being a friend. This is very exciting. You know, one of the things that I love, I've asked Rosemary to come on the show before, and I know many of you will remember her coming on the show before because we got lots of feedback afterwards, and our viewers definitely love having you on the show. And one of my favorite things is I launched the Notion document that we use to plan the show this morning as I was getting everything plugged in, and I pop it open and there are already so many apps listed in the document. Rosemary, you not only do you come prepared, but you you have such app knowledge, and I love that. And I think that today is a specific and very important kind of day and episode, because not only are we talking about, as we typically do around this time, how to plan for your holiday celebrations, be it Thanksgiving or as you know those winter holidays come up, but it's unique this year because many of us are at home. Many of us are making the very selfless decision to stay home instead of going out and potentially spreading disease to our loved ones. And so it's a unique situation that still requires some planning. And so we're kind of doing a little bit of a hybrid episode today. It's apps that we can use to plan, but also apps that we can use to connect with our family across those distances. So I think we should begin the show with one of my favorite apps, one of Leo's favorite apps, and the first app that you have listed here in our show notes. Tell me about it, Rosemary.
Well, the first app is Paprika or Paprika, depending on how you pronounce it. And this is a great app for recipes and, food planning generally, because it has meal planning and shopping lists and everything built in. They've got an iOS app, they've got an iPhone app, they've got a Mac app. I think there's even Windows and Android versions. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. But the idea is you can send Paprika a URL through the share sheet, and it will just go whoop and suck in all those details and suck out the ingredients and all of that and let you scale your recipes. Now, this for me is the key because, of course, especially this year, if you have your usual traditional recipes that you want to cook, but they're usually for 8 people and there's 2 of you, you're going to need to quarter those ingredients. So in Paprika, you can easily do that when you just tap into a recipe, and then you can see that there's a scale button in the top left where it says scale and convert right there. And then voila, you can go ahead and scale that down to say an 1/8 or 1/16 even, I think might even be possible. But you can just really, get the exact amount that you want so that you don't have huge amounts of leftovers that you'll be eating until March. Because, leftovers are great for a few days. And then after that, you kind of want to break from them.
I love that. I never really considered I certainly have thought about, scaling up. But I never considered, scaling down whenever you're not having that big family gathering. And so if you've just got a few people there, I think one of my favorite things about Paprika is it's like if you do a recipe blog, you have to share Monk Martin Luther's what is it, the 10 treatises or whatever it was that he nailed to the front of the church building. And you've got to rewrite the Declaration of Independence and tell 12 stories and talk about your whole family history before you ever get to the recipe at the bottom of the page. And that is frustrating. And so that's one of my favorite things about Paprika is I pop a link with all of that nonsense at the top of it. And it's practically got like the whole rundown of the human genome in the top. It goes ahead and kicks the human genome to the side, gets to the recipe, drops it in, and then does it in such a way that it is like it's smart enough to know how to separate between what the ingredients are, what the recipe is, like the directions, and even the nutrition facts can get dropped in a separate place. And then on top of that, one of my favorite features, I'm a little bit of a bad person, I guess, in that I really like to have a physical recipe on hand as opposed to my iPad, which, screen might shut off after a while, or I don't want to get it dirty. So I like to print it out. Use recycled paper, all that jazz. But I do like to print it out. And the printing options of Paprika are fantastic. And when you pair that with Apple's AirPrint, which makes it very easy to connect a printer on your network, it's quick to print out a recipe. I can set it up just how I want it and take that to the kitchen and get my, recipe figured out. But on top of having the recipe translator essentially, or the recipe puller, it has all these great options for, creating a grocery list so that you can make sure that your groceries are, it'll organized but kind of by aisle, by category, so you can go and get your groceries exactly how you want. You can figure out what you already have in your pantry, so you can set that up as well. And then what I like too is it's got meal planning. So if you wanted to, you can kind of plan ahead for what meals you plan to have, and then you can make sure that you've got your recipes ready by that time. And one of my favorite things, it reminds me of when I was a kid. It's got menu options. And so I can remember sometimes I would take over cooking for the day, and I would always do up a menu of the meal that was going to be had. And, it was normally something very easy to do, obviously, but I would always kind of make it sound fancy. So instead of macaroni and cheese, it was pasta with cheese a la mode or something. And that's a delightful kind of memory there with Paprika. But, that's not the only app that's out there for meal planning, for meal preparation. What's next on your list?
Well, the next one is the one that I have switched to recently from Paprika. Now, there's nothing wrong with Paprika, to be perfectly clear. If you've already got Paprika and you're happy with it, stick with it. But if you are looking to try a new recipe app, and maybe you're not willing to invest the $2.99 just yet, then Crouton is a great app which has many of the same features as Paprika. The recipe parser isn't quite as good, but it will also import an exported Paprika file. And this is great because you can export everything if you are wanting to try a new app. And after a limited number of recipes, I've forgotten the exact number right now, but after a limited, then there's a $2.99 in-app purchase to unlock everything, which also includes different color app icons and all the pretty things. But what I love, which I'm now thinking that Paprika's probably got it as well, Mikah, but it has an automatic meal planner. So on the main page, I can just go ahead and tap and say generate plan for the current week. And guess what I am having next Monday? You're never going to guess. It's kale and white cheddar quesadillas.
Oh, that's not what I would have guessed. So
Nope. But on Sunday, I'm having brownies for dinner. So that's going to be absolutely delicious. And it's a very pretty app. It's kind of Yeah, so it doesn't yet have the ability to automatically detect brownies and cookies and suggest that perhaps they should not be main meals. On the other hand, who doesn't want a triple chocolate brownie for dessert on Sunday? So, that's
Right.
great. And the other thing that I love with this is when you go into the recipe mode. So you were talking earlier, Mikah, about printing things out. But for those people who don't have a printer at home, Crouton is perfect. So you stand your iPad with Face ID or your iPhone on a little stand in the kitchen, and there's a play button at the top of every recipe. And I'm doing this right now. And if I tap on the I button, then I can wink to go to the next step.
What?
And it will automatically go to the next step. And if I open my mouth, it shows me the ingredients list.
You're kidding me. I need to. Okay,
I am not kidding you.
Okay, so I'm going to add a recipe to this app so that I can try this. So walk me through this. How do I go about adding a recipe?
So the probably easiest thing to do is to pick a website and just share your recipe to that. So I usually pick something like BBC Good Foods or somewhere like that. There's lots of
recipes.
Yeah.
So here's a brownie recipe that I recently did.
There we go. There we go.
How do we go back?
So
I need to go back.
You just use the share sheet. Then you should be able.
Sorry, I just need to find a little recipe here. Truly delicious Brussels sprouts. Okay, here we go. I'll use the share sheet, and then
It should be in the app row somewhere.
That's this one. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll need to tap more and then find, I already forgot what it was called. Oh, Crouton. There it is. Crouton.
There you go. Right at the bottom. And here we go. So you can see it's done a great job parsing that out. And if it's missed anything, you can add that in. But if you just tap add in the top right when you're ready.
Okay.
Then pop back into the app.
Back to Crouton.
And look under the recipes tab.
There's my recipe.
And then tap on that play button right underneath the picture. Now, this seems crazy, and it does just have this great view, but it's highlighted all the ingredients. But if you tap on the eye in the top right, so there's a tiny little button with an eye on it, then it needs to have camera access for hands-free navigation. And then you should be able to wink with different eyes to go between the steps and open your mouth to show the ingredients.
Oh, my God. This is amazing. Oh, my God. I'm so impressed.
I love this feature. Because it means that you can have your hands covered in flour or oil or seasoning or, just whatever. Your hands can be wet. And, I just want to check the ingredients list. So you look at your phone, you open your mouth, and you do look ridiculous while doing it. But that's part of the fun.
That's so fun.
It's great, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Well, you know what? You just won me. Crouton, you're my app now. That's great. Now, tell me, does this require one of the newer phones that have what's the word I'm looking for? That have the depth sensors on the front, or will this work with? Yeah. Okay.
Any device that's got Face ID built into it should be able to do this. But it's using those depth sensors, which is why it asks you for permission to access the camera, because that's where it all is, and that's where it does its magic. I don't know how it's doing the magic. I think that maybe there were sacrifices to, turkeys involved gods or something. But,
wow. I am very impressed, Crouton. So yes, available for free. There's a $3.99 in-app purchase, which adds unlimited recipes and then iCloud household sharing, which I assume means that you can have the app synced across everybody. It says add a household to share your recipes and meal plan
in your house. Then you can share that. You can share your recipes with your house, which is great for, meal planning and so on, because somebody can say, oh yeah, actually, I really want to cook that macaroni and cheese that you've got this great recipe for. I'll just quickly grab that recipe from you and buy the stuff while I'm at the store. And then you come home or you finish work and go downstairs and voila, there's great macaroni and cheese, which is your recipe that you shared with, whoever you're living with. So.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I had no idea this app was out there. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and with the listeners as well. What's next? What else can we do?
Well, I think the next one is one that I actually really like to use while cooking. And this is the app called House Party. So I have a couple of little stands. So I've got my phone on a stand with croutons so I can be, winking and blinking and opening my mouth at my phone to look at my recipes. And then I put my iPad on a stand and I open the House Party app. And the House Party app is great. You add some friends and then you can just drop in on each other. But you have to have launched the app first. So it's not like the Echo Show or anything like that, where people can just randomly drop into your kitchen. Everybody needs to have the app installed, but it's a multi-platform app, and it's just a great way to hang out with people while you're doing the cooking without, having to actively call somebody or something like that. And you can have a bunch of people, just drop in.
Yeah, I think I like this especially I can even talk down here, then you can all see me. What I think I like about this especially is the idea that, I think about people who have family recipes. And let me see if I can add you here to this. I'm afraid to unlock it. There we go. I can just add you. So people who have family recipes where, grandma makes the most amazing pumpkin pie. And so grandma's making her pumpkin pie and you're making grandma's pumpkin pie and you're both kind of working together. And these, grandma, how do you do your pastry again? Do you do a rough puff or do you do a layered thing? What's your method of doing that? I really like that idea. And then too, even if you're not looking for tips from grandma, maybe you just are wanting to hang out with folks and, you're showing off how you make this and they can, work on what they're doing. Because, I think that if you are baking or cooking alone, I kind of like it as a meditative exercise for me. Mm-hmm. It is a way for me to kind of not zone out, but zone in on the cooking or the baking and really work to make whatever it is happen. But if you aren't trying to do it as a solitary thing and are instead looking for a way to kind of enjoy the process together, I really like that. In fact, I think this is something that I'll probably do on Thanksgiving Day with my family as we are all cooking the meals and we can all kind of be there together in House Party hanging out.
Yeah, and it's great because, you don't necessarily want to have House Party going while everybody's eating. But while people are cooking and setting things up and maybe making some fancy drinks or something like that, it's a great thing to have because it's very casual and it's not like you've actively called somebody and so you're there and you're on the phone or anything like that. It's just a very, fun way of hanging out. And if somebody, can pop in, then, they can just, pop in for a little bit and then, the turkey needs to come out the oven. I'm going to need all my concentration for this or whatever it is. And so they can just pop out again. And it's very relaxed and fun. So, and they've got some great games in there too. So.
Yes, they do. And they continue to add them. In fact, I think it says you can connect House Party to Fortnite so that you can play Fortnite while also doing that, which is pretty wild. But yes, there are lots of different games that they continue to add and lots of integrations that they continue to add as well, including one with Facebook is what I am seeing, so that you can basically stream what is happening in House Party to Facebook. So if they don't necessarily have the House Party, some of your family might be able to tune in via Facebook. So all very interesting.
Course, you can always have fun doing karaoke, right?
Oh, yeah. And apparently, look at these cool backgrounds. Their new options. I wish I could have this in my, iOS Today thing. Let's see what else. Oh, yes.
I'm sure that the magic elves here can make that happen, right?
Yes. Okay, bananas. There's some very odd choices here. It's not great. My hand is almost all the way gone, but I think that if you're going to make a modern video chat application and you don't have video backgrounds, then you're doing it wrong. So it makes sense that they've added that as well. That's House Party. That is available for free in the App Store. Does it have in-app purchases for different games?
I don't believe it does, but it might do on the game front.
I think I remember paying for heads up card packs, but that's sort of a separate thing. It's not really that it's house party. That's a heads up addition. So yeah.
Exactly.
Now, how does your next pick factor into things?
Well, my next pick comes kind of hand in hand with the pick after that. So right now, I want to look at Reminders. Reminders is free on everybody's iOS device and Mac. It's on iCloud.com as well. And you can share a list with other people. But once you figured out what you're doing and approximately when you need to make it happen, then you're going to need reminders to help you do that, because otherwise you'll be sitting there on the sofa just having fun, playing heads up in a house party, and you'll forget that you need to go and put the turkey in the oven, or that the pumpkin pie needs to be prepared, or something like that. And so Reminders is my go-to app for prompts to help me get things done, which then stay on the lock screen of my device, so that every time I pick up my phone, it says, take the laundry out of the washing machine or whatever it is. And it's free and it works. It's got reminders. You can share your lists, which I really like. So I have some shared lists with my parents. So whenever they need tech support, they put whatever tech support they need on that list, so that then I know what kind of things they need tech support with, and I can check it all out and do a little bit of research before I try and help them with things, which is definitely advantageous for me.
And I should mention another one that is one of my favorite apps to use and for reminders, and that would be the Do app. Do is pretty much a daily app for me. It's not only great for medicine reminders, but it is also great for, all sorts of things. In fact, I like to use it all the time for quick reminders of things that I need to do in that day, and methods for making sure that way down the line, just sort of repetitive tasks. Because what Do does that makes it a little bit different is it will not stop bugging you until you have the thing done that you want to get done. And for me, that is very important. I tend to need to be reminded a few times because I will get distracted by other things that, come up and seem more important in the moment. And so then, oh, right, literally I was going to go do the thing that Do told me to do, then I got distracted by this, and then Do reminds me again. So for me, this app is the better one for turkeys specifically, or anything that's in the oven where, the timer might go off, and then I might get distracted and forget, oh, I need to go get that out of the oven. Because there have been a few times where I have a Green Chef subscription, and there have been a few times where, the timer will go off, I'll check whatever is roasting in the oven, and it won't quite be done. And then I will think, okay, I need to, roast it a little bit longer. I close the oven, and then my partner says something to me, and I'm speaking to him, and then suddenly I've forgotten that the thing is in the oven roasting. And then, 10 minutes later, oh, right, I forgot. That's in the oven. I need to fix that. So Do is a helpful app for me in that sense, because it just basically says, hey, you forgot that. So that's a really good one.
Reminders and Do can actually work really well together. And I just got a HomePod Mini for my kitchen. So I've got a tiny little HomePod Mini sitting there on a little shelf in my kitchen out of the way. But it's great because I can use it for timers, but I can also use it for reminders. And I actually have Do import from a reminders list, which means that I can use the magic phrase and then say, remind me to rotate the potatoes in 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, it will have already been sucked into Do if it's going into that reminders list, which is great because then, I'm using the HomePod, which is great because I can just get on with washing my hands or whatever it is I need to do. And I don't have to touch my device, but then I get those integrations that I really like. So if you set Do up to import from reminders, then you get the best of both worlds.
I like that. Okay. See, I've got a HomePod Mini here in my office with the HomePod downstairs and kind of the main living space. And the fact that, you can tie those two together so that you've got reminders for the longer things, but Do for those very specific re-repeat reminders reminders I quite like, because I did a recent episode of one of the shows that I called Hands on iOS, where I kind of go in depth with different things. And one of the things that I talked about was the Reminders app and how powerful it is, and how many features are actually built into it, what all it can do. And it is quite a powerful app for task management. And so I quite like the idea of being able to pair my favorite bugaboo app, if you will, with the with a more task management based app. But you've got another one on here that seems to deal with tasks.
Yeah, I do. And this one is TaskKeet. And this is what I usually use for the very beginning when I'm trying to figure out, okay, so I need to get all of these things done, but some of these depend on other things. So what order do I actually need to do stuff in? Because sometimes you can look at it and it's like, okay, well, obviously I can't dry my hair until I've washed my hair. So I have to wash my hair before I dry my hair. That's logical. But when you've got 50 things that you need to handle, and a bunch of them are actually kind of interdependent on a bunch of other things, then figuring out that particular Gordian knot is a task that I take to TaskKeet. So TaskKeet, you have a whole bunch of different projects or sheets, and then you add your tasks on them. And it's just tiny little blocks on your sheet. And then you can go ahead and draw links between them. So, for example, you would draw a link from, wash hair to dry hair, and then wash hair has to happen before drying your hair. And then when you look at the actual list, it will just show you the things that are available first for you to do, so that then you can link everything together and figure out exactly what you need to do. And then you just see, oh, right. So actually, the very first thing I need to do is wash the dishes. Because if I don't wash the dishes, then the dishes won't be dry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it really just helps you, figure out the ordering of things. So if you pop into default under projects on the left-hand side there, then you can go ahead and add a whole bunch of tasks. There's also a list view that you can easily add things in. And then once you've got multiple tasks, you can go ahead and draw links between them.
Okay, so clean my hair would be the final one.
Well, maybe, but I if you add, say, dry. Yeah, wash your hair. It's probably a good one. You can add notes and colors and all sorts of things. And so now we've got dry my hair in green, and maybe wash dishes or something like that. Oh, condition. Very important. Do not skip the conditioner.
Wash the dishes. Oh, that's got to be in red because no one likes to do that. Well, maybe some people do. And then it can be a bit relaxing. Mode?
Yeah, if you pop into flowchart mode, then over on the right-hand side of each task, you have a tiny little circle. And if you tap and hold on that for a second and then draw from that dot to another one, then you can create a link. Exactly. And now you have a logical ordering, and it will you can't decide how your project actually looks. It's going to remap and reorganize everything for you. And you can't have a dependency which depends on itself. So you've already got
to rearrange these two.
Well, if you tap on an arrow, then you can actually go ahead and you can switch the order. So if you tap on invert, then you can voila, invert things. And so you have to wash your hair before you can condition your hair and dry your hair. And
I like this because this is one of those sort of you have the question at the top. And then it's like, is the answer yes? Then go this way. If the answer is no, then go this way. That's kind of fun.
Exactly. It's kind of a combination of flowcharts and task management and project planning. Because under the actual view, you'll see that you have 3 tasks available, and that's wash my hair, clean my hair, and wash the dishes. And that's because those are the ones that you need to do before you can do the other tasks. And if they're not attached to anything, then it assumes that they're available. And I think it's really useful, and you have all sorts of options, so you can add due dates and things like that. I tend literally to create a project for a day where I've got a whole bunch of crazy things going on, and then I just have a day and I put all the things in there and I figure it all out. And then I go into the actual and realize, okay, so out of the 50 things that I need to do, I have 3 things I can move on right now. And so I go off and I do those 3 things and I come back to my iPad and I check them off. And then the next series of things appears, and so on and so forth. And it works really nicely just to help me figure out what order can I actually do things in here. because, sometimes, you need to cook the turkey before you cook the pumpkin pie. Okay.
Right.
But when do you need to do the potatoes?
Oh, I see. Right. Because if you cook them too soon, then they're going to be cold. And if you cook them too late, then they're going to be over hot and potentially you won't have time to add the butter. There are lots of different reasons why that that depends on when you do it. Okay. I like that. And what I love about this app is that I can already see ways to take it and use it, maybe not according to its design per se, or its original intent, but it's a pretty cool flowchart app in general, and it has some organizational features built in. And I always like that whenever I can take an app and kind of do with it what I think is the right thing to do, or what works well for me rather. So pretty cool.
Exactly, which is why I like to use it for my day planning, because, that's not what they intended. They intended for you to use each project as a project rather than a day. But I don't need to add due dates if I know that everything here has to be done on Friday by 2 p.m. because that's when, the deadlines are. So it works nicely.
And I see that it is also available on the Mac because I downloaded it on my iPad and it is popped up in the Mac App Store as an app. So being able to go between all of those is really nice. I'm excited about that.
Yes, and if you have setup, it's included in that as well. So there we go.
Oh, setup. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, folks, we are going to take a quick break before we come back with more apps. Rosemary Orchard is here with us today, the queen of automations and co-host of Automators on Relay FM, as well as just an all-around awesome app developer and automations expert and everything in between. Again, so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
And I'm excited to say that this episode of iOS Today is brought to you by, you guessed it, it's LastPass. We know you can't trust your most valuable data with just any company. And that's why LastPass has been our choice for identity and access management. But we aren't the only ones. LastPass has been named a leader in the G2 Fall Grid Reports, a leading peer-to-peer review site that provides unbiased user reviews on leading software solutions. Of the 746 customers that have left user reviews, 93% of LastPass users rated them 4 or 5 stars. What is it that makes LastPass so unique and vital for your business? Well, IT and security leaders can take back control of password security. They'll have the control they need from a central dashboard. Businesses can customize admin privileges, ensuring that any given admin has only the right level of access. You'll gain company-wide visibility that shows you actual progress. No matter your organization's source of truth, LastPass integrates to onboard users, sync groups, and revoke access. LastPass allows actionable insights for admins as well. You can access security scores, which is very important, so you can see real-time readouts of your business's password hygiene and track improvements over time. You can review audit reports, build compliance, and maintain accountability with detailed reporting logs that tie actions to individuals. For every employee, you can view their password scores, gain access to shared accounts, monitor group memberships, and more. Also, your company can enable and require MFA multi-factor authentication, make logging into different sites simple and easy while still being secure. And the built-in password generator creates long, randomized passwords that protect against hacking. Employees can easily and securely share passwords, notes, and other sensitive information right there through LastPass. Leverage over 100 policies and advanced security features, or use the out-of-the-box configurations for a balance between security and convenience. LastPass has won 8 awards so far this year. They are PC Mag's Editor's Choice. They won the Fortress Cybersecurity Award, and they are Business Insider's Best Overall Password Manager, just to name a few. Let the award-winning LastPass help you take back control of password security. Go to LastPass.com/twit. That's LastPass.com/twit. Thank you so much, LastPass, for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. We appreciate you. All right. let us take a glimpse at the next pick that you have for us here. Ha 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 ha.
Well, that's very clever, Mikah. My next app is indeed called Glimpse, and that's a great app for sharing your location across platforms because, you know, there is a pandemic, and yes, we should indeed be staying at home. But if, for example, you need to go out and grab groceries or something like that, and you're on your way home and you want people to be able to track you, then I like to use Glimpse as one of my options for sharing my location with friends and family members and those other people that I live with. And it's a great app because you can just fire it up and say that you want to share your location for the next X period of time or until you get to a specific destination. And the specific destination is really useful so that then when you get home or get to wherever it is that you're going, hopefully home, then it will just stop sharing your location and it won't eat your battery after that. I mean, it is a relatively battery intense application because it is literally stalking you with your permission. But it works really, really well. And it can even, you know, let you specify, you know, different people, multiple people to share things with and share things via WhatsApp and have some fun, smart buttons where you can easily just say, don't sharing this for, you know, sharing this until I get to this location, going to this person via this messaging platform, and just tap the button and it goes. And that's perfect. And I really, really like this. It comes in very handy.
Nice. Yeah. So this is a little bit different from, you know, just this built-in Find My network. And can you kind of explain sort of what is the benefit of getting this over something that, you know, you would get from the built-in Find My network? Is it just that the sharing and removing features are like removing yourself from the sharing is a little bit easier, or does it have more features than the basic Find My network? Kind of what's the benefit here?
Well, I mean, if you have an Android user in your life, then first of all, the biggest advantage is that you can indeed share with them because, of course, Find My does not work across platforms, which is, you know, the downside of it. But you can set your destination. And that for me is the coolest part. So I can say, you know, when I get home, stop sharing my location. So if it takes me an hour to get home, it will stop sharing in an hour. If it takes me 4 hours to get home because there's masses of traffic, it will stop then. Whereas sharing your location through messages, which uses the Find My backend, then that is a little bit tricky. It, you know, just allows you to share your location for an hour until the end of the day or for infinity. And if you do the for infinity, because say you need to share your location with somebody for a weekend, then you may forget that you got it activated, and then you look at Find My at some point and realize that all these people who don't need to see your location all the time can see it, which means that every time they open Find My, they have even more people in that list, which, you know, can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. And I'm not suggesting anyone here is trying to hide anything. Of course we're not. But I just like the fact that it can stop sharing when I get to a specific location, and it, you know, has messages and things incorporated. And it just works really nicely. And you can say, hey, I'm traveling by car or bike or on foot. And it knows when you're going to get there. And you can do it via email even. So people can open it in a web browser on their computer and track you on a nice big screen instead of just sticking to, say, their small iPhone screen.
Cool. That's very neat. Yeah, I like that. And then, of course, there is Find My, which Apple continues to sort of improve upon. We've heard them talk about, it was WWDC and a little bit more since then, about the expansion of the Find My network to include third-party devices. That's still in the works and, you know, kind of coming through right now. But that could mean that, you know, on top of the family sharing features that let you use Find My to share locations with folks, that eventually it would include, you know, a built-in way to kind of find those devices that have, be it Bluetooth LE or some other type of technology built in to help you find those devices. So I like that as well. It is the whole Find My network in general has been helpful in the way that, so my partner used to have to drive to a city over, or a couple cities over, for work. And when he would do that, at the start of his drive, he would share his location. And it's a little bit, Apple Maps, a little bit Find My, kind of working together for the special sauce that basically gave you notifications throughout the day that would say, the estimated arrival time has changed because of traffic, or this person is set to arrive soon. And then you could set up little GPS bubbles, essentially, where you could say, whenever this person is within this bubble, then go ahead and notify so that you know that they're almost there or they're not, or what have you. So I think that is also, certainly a very powerful tool. Although I can, in the times before where folks were gathering together, I think everybody has a couple of family members who are perhaps a little more reserved, a little more potentially prudish, a little more conservative in their humor, and whatever it might be, where there are certain things that when you're with family, you can kind of feel comfortable and be silly and perhaps speak freely. But then, this certain family member is coming, so it's time to put on the tie and act a little more professional. And so I just really like the idea of this thing that says, "Oh no, great Uncle Nathan just got here, so everybody better start acting right."
Yes. And if you borrow their phone, or you send a request, then you can have it notify you every time somebody gets to a location as well. So with my parents, I've set it up so that every time they get to just the end of the road up here, I automatically get a notification through Find My, so that I know they're here, so I can get up and unlock the front door for them, so that they're not standing out there in the rain and the cold waiting to come in, which is really nice. And there's also a bonus tip that I have for Find My, which is if somebody has shared their location with you, then inside of messages, if you tap on their name at the top and then tap on the info bubble, then you will see a little map of where they are. And you can then tap on that for a full screen view, which is just centered on them. And nice. I find that can be really useful for keeping an eye on people. So, oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, my mom is home now, so I can call her, I called her earlier. She was at the grocery store. That was not a great time to be chatting to her. So now she's home. I'll give her a call again and see how she is.
Perfect. And next, you have a way to maintain contact with folks on different devices and different networks and, Wi-Fi, cellular, wherever they happen to be. And I think this is a good mention for sure.
Yeah. So WhatsApp is extremely popular in pretty much everywhere outside of the US, I will say. And I feel like it is an app that often gets overlooked. It has messaging, obviously, but it also has calling and video calling features, and stickers and some location sharing, very similar to Find My. But the brilliance of WhatsApp is it's based on your phone number, and it works on Android. It works on iOS, and you can also install the Mac version or the Windows version, or go to web.whatsapp.com to continue messaging from other devices, which means that it's not quite as cross-platform from the iOS perspective with the iPhone and the iPad versions as Messages or something. But it works really well, and it allows you to send photo messages for free backwards and forwards and video call each other. And it works really nicely. It is owned by Facebook, but you don't need a Facebook account to use it. Everything is based on your phone number. And I moved countries this year, and it's great for keeping in touch with people who are, back in Austria, where I've been living for the last couple of years, and I don't want to lose touch with them. But they don't have iPhones, so I can't just iMessage them. And I don't want to incur massive international cell phone bills, so I am using WhatsApp instead, and it works great.
Nice. Then I have a couple that I want to mention here. An app that's been a lifesaver just in general, not even necessarily at the holiday season, but certainly as the holidays are rolling around, is Instacart. A lot of folks are not are doing their best to stay home, stay sheltered in place. Here in California, we are coming up on kind of another round of more locking down and stronger face mask requirements, and another round of trying to slow the spread of the pandemic. And so with that comes kind of the encouragement that you only go out when necessary. And one of those, necessary things is to get groceries. But I want to, not even have to do that if I can help it. And so I like to use Instacart. Instacart is an app that lets you connect with, multiple grocers and different stores that offer grocery delivery. And then it works a lot like DoorDash or one of the other fast food delivery services, but instead it is grocery based. And so you order your groceries, the person goes and shops for you. I had never used Instacart before moving to California, and then through my entire first year here, I had never used it. Didn't even know that it was a thing. And then one day, one of my friends in Southern California said, I was saying that I wanted to get I wanted to get some food or whatever, but I wasn't able to go to the grocery store. And they're like, why don't you use Instacart? So I downloaded it. And not only does it let you know, hey, your shopper is currently shopping, but it will, they go through, and as they get your groceries, it lets you know they found this item, they found this item, they found this item, they put it in the cart kind of thing. And then if they can't find the item, they can chat you and say, hey, they were out of this ground turkey, but they do have this ground turkey. Do you want this instead? And you can sort of give your suggestions for replacements, or you can have them just pick the best match. And it has, a tipping feature where 100% of the tip goes to the driver and the shopper. And so it's a really interesting and very helpful service that my partner and I have both made use of to limit the amount of times that we go out into the world and are potentially exposing ourselves and exposing others as much as possible. So it can be completely contact-free delivery. And so that is an app. And one of the things that, folks that Instacart itself has said is, hey, if you're planning on doing groceries for Thanksgiving here in the United States, go ahead and kind of get those in as quickly as possible, because it's going to get pretty busy. So that's just kind of a warning to folks out there who are planning on using Instacart or are planning on using Instacart. Be aware that things are speeding up quite a bit. So you'll want to hop on that as quickly as possible. The other app that I wanted to give an honorable mention to is Airtime, which is an app that lets you. It's a lot like the house party that you mentioned earlier, except this one is specific to watching stuff together, watching content together. So you create a room, and then you can invite people to your room, and you can all watch. They are, slowly working in partnerships with different places so that they actually have, it started out just being YouTube videos you could watch. And over time, they've added things. So you can see like Mad Money is on here. The Midnight Meat Train is on here. So 5,000 people are watching. And in fact, I'll tap on this one, the Midnight Meat Train. And as you watch, you can see that down at the bottom, you can actually chat with people. Now, I would assume that because I am currently sharing my screen to my computer for the sake of this show, that is why this content is not showing up, because it does have those protections in place. But if I were to unplug it and then do it, I should be able to watch it. And then along the bottom here, you can see people leaving comments, and you can also comment on it too. You can, of course, turn those off if you don't like them, and turn them, on if you do want to comment. But I think of this as a great way, perhaps I don't know if it'll be streamed, but I think of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which I don't even know if they're doing something this year. Anyway, in years past, that would be kind of a fun thing where if I am in California and my siblings are in Florida and, Missouri and wherever else, we would all watch it together back whenever we were kids. We could all tune in together on watch party or airtime and comment on the different balloons and stuff. So definitely check out Airtime, which is available to download for free because they continue to add new integrations all the time and new partnerships with different companies.
Yeah, that's a really great pick. There's Netflix actually has the same feature built in, and so does Plex. So if you have a Plex server or family friends got a Plex server and they share your media with them, then you can actually watch together. And I have been using that to finally watch Futurama with a couple of friends of mine without having to be together. And we've got a little a chat thread going, a multi-person chat thread where we're all just posting in as we comment on things as we watch it, which is great. And so I would highly recommend watching things together, but distantly.
There you go. All right, we're going to take a quick break before we come back with the news. And I am excited to tell you that this episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Peak Design. That's right. Peak Design is well known. You know about Peak Design because you know about its thoughtfully engineered and award-winning products. And guess what? They've just launched their 10th campaign on Kickstarter, Mobile by Peak Design. See, Peak Design does this really clever thing where they can go and create some really cool products and come up with some really cool ideas because of the way that they go for crowdfunding. And so, you take a risk, you innovate, and you see if folks are interested in a product. And by golly, Peak Design seems to continue to create hits because folks continue to be interested in the things that they launch. And so Mobile is an ecosystem of cases, mounts, and accessories that make your phone a better tool for everything you do, from photo and video creation to bike and motorcycle riding to working in the home and office. In Peak Design's words, you don't need more screen time. You need better screen time. And it even works with the new iPhone 12 MagSafe system, that magnet on the back of the iPhone 12. These accessories use a proprietary magnetic mechanical locking system that Peak Design calls SlimLink. SlimLink uses a precision machined piece of zirconia ceramic and an array of magnets to provide intuitive no-look connection, wireless charging compatibility, and hard locking security for extreme activities. My goodness, this sounds almost exactly like MagSafe, and that is awesome because it means that this is a very cleverly designed and very thoughtfully designed product. Peak Design has embedded this SlimLink system into its new everyday phone case. The everyday case is the perfect balance of slimness. You can see if you're watching the video now how slim that case is. You get slimness and protection. And when paired with your mobile device, it opens up Peak Design's incredible ecosystem of mounts and accessories. Those mounts and accessories include a rugged and handsome wallet with a built-in kickstand, a machined aluminum tripod with a buttery smooth ball head built specifically for mobile devices, charging and non-charging mounts for the dash of your car. That's one of my favorite things, having a charger right there on my dash. Hard locking mounts for total security, biking and motorcycle riding, a beautiful charging stand for your desk or bedside table, low profile wall mounts that put your phone exactly where you want it around the house, and a kit of adapters that mount your phone to standard GoPro and Arca style systems, letting you create content with your phone just about anywhere. This is unbelievable, the versatility of this product. And what about the new iPhone 12 with its MagSafe system? Yes, you can count on Peak Design's family of accessories working seamlessly with all iPhone 12 models. Peak Design is proud to say that they are the world's most crowdfunded active company. Through Kickstarter, they found the most loyal, stoked, and passionate customers. And Peak Design is a San Francisco-based company that also makes products that keep your camera gear organized, protected, and accessible. Their founder, Peter, was traveling the world and realized how much of a pain it was to carry his DSLR camera and gear. And in May 2011, the Capture was created and successfully funded on Kickstarter. And voila, Peak Design was born. Leo's talked a lot about how much he loves Peak Design's products for his DSLR cameras. To learn more about this incredible system, Mobile by Peak Design, learn about the campaign and all the other amazing products they have, head to peakdesign.com/twit. Support Peak Design and visit peakdesign.com/twit. Thank you so much to Peak Design for its support of this show and all of TWiT. We appreciate you, Peak Design. And wow, what an awesome set of products. I think it's so cool, all of those integrations. All right. Up first in the news, Rosemary Orchard, is a much lauded, but also still sort of confusing and subject to slight adjustments and changes announcement that Apple will be reducing its App Store commission from 30% to 15% for most of its developers, starting on January 1st. So let's quickly kind of explain here. If you release an app in the App Store and you don't release it for free, meaning you either charge an upfront price or have in-app purchases or anything like that, then Apple, given that this is Apple's store on which these products are published, these apps are published, takes a percentage of the payment that someone pays. So when I buy Paprika in the App Store for $2.99, then Apple takes, let's see, 0.30, 90 cents of that $2.99 purchase. And the rest goes to me. That is going to be reduced to 15% for developers who make less than $1 million in a year on its apps. Anyone who makes more than $1 million in a year will still have that 30% cut. I'm curious, Rosemary, what are your thoughts on this change, this update?
Well, as a developer, I absolutely love this change, obviously, because it means that Apple are taking a little less of the money. And honestly, it feels like it's perhaps a little overdue. I believe it was last year or maybe the year before where Apple said that if you have a subscription, then the first year they will take 30% of that if somebody does an annual subscription to your app. But the next year and from then onwards, while the subscription continues, then Apple will only take 15%. So it seems to me to be, balancing things out a tad here where, people who, if they are essentially rewarded for creating subscriptions, but they don't necessarily want to do that as a developer because it may not make sense for their product. So I think it is a good balance of things. And there are so many small developers out there, so many. People like Christian Selig, who makes the Apollo app for Reddit, which is a very popular third-party app, or, any number of developers. I've seen a lot of people posting on Twitter saying that they're really happy to see this, obviously. And I think it just makes things a little bit easier as well for developers who are looking to get into the game of development, because it means that, okay, yes, they are still paying Apple to be a part of the App Store, which, you can argue for or against as much as you like, but Apple's territory, Apple makes the rules, you pay Apple at least some amount, and at least it's not a flat fee that everybody has to pay the same amount regardless of how many apps they have or how much their app costs. So I think that this is a fair way of doing things. And if you do go over that magic 1 million, then I presume that you probably are able to afford the price hike, though it does seem a little steep, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, something that somebody said was that there is the chance that, you get a hit. You're normally a small developer, a small business, but you come out with a hit and you then get to that $1 million price point somehow. And then for the rest of that, I think it's either a year. I think it's a year. For however long, then you are kind of stuck in that bubble and don't get back down to the 15%. But that's an argument, but you also have to keep in mind that up until now, everybody's been getting that 30% cut. So to drop down to the 15% at all is a new thing that will happen for some people. And as you've also noted, you make $1 million on the App Store and you're a small business or a large business, then hopefully you can afford you must be able to afford, because up to this point, you've been able to afford that 30% cut. So of course, math is weird. And so the 30% to 15% cut is actually what, a 20% raise, I think was the way that works, which is
approximately
just,
20% raise. Yeah. And of course, it does mean that, if you're a team of app developers, then that 15% that you will no longer be paying to Apple of your total, income is going to perhaps, be able to spread around as some nice holiday bonuses or something, because that is a lot of money, especially but if you have multiple people that you are currently paying to, produce the apps and everything, then it's maybe not such of a big amount on a per person basis, which is why, it's an interesting approach that Apple have done. But I think it is high time that they make it easier for small indies who, they clearly love, because otherwise they wouldn't make it possible for them to publish their apps.
Exactly. Up next, there was a bit of a complaint, a kerfuffle, a sadness, an outrage, and I can't think of another word to use here, so I'm just going to move on. There was some upsettedness, if you will, about Apple getting exclusive rights for a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and a Charlie Brown Christmas, because in years past, any person in the United States that had television and a way to view broadcast content could tune into their local PBS station and watch a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and a Charlie Brown Christmas. But because of Apple getting the rights to those properties, it was going to be available only on Apple TV, the Apple TV app. And the argument, of course, was that it was going to be available for free. And so if you went to, tv.apple.com on any device, or launched one of the devices, many set-top boxes and game consoles, etc., you would be able to watch those for free on those days. But, not every person may have access to that technology that does have access to broadcast technology. And so the argument was that, that basically that stinks. And we think that it should be available for everybody to see in the classic way. So I don't know if this is just a bit of nostalgia kind of playing a role, and whether that argument is truly a fair one. But that aside, Apple and PBS are teaming up to make sure that a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and Charlie Brown Christmas will be both streamed on Apple TV as was planned, but also it will be broadcast ad-free on PBS and PBS Kids on November 22nd. So 2 days ago for Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and December 13th for the Charlie Brown Christmas. And those are broadcast on PBS and PBS Kids, whereas it streams on Apple TV November 18th. It starts streaming on November 18th and available for free on November 25th through the 27th. So starting tomorrow, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving will be available to stream for free through the 27th. And then it starts streaming on Apple TV, the Charlie Brown Christmas, on December 4th, and will be available for free from December 11th to December 13th. So if those are two shows that you very much want to tune into as you deck the halls and roast your turkeys, you can do that in any way you see fit. All right, so let's talk about the latest update to iOS 14. So Apple released iOS 14.2 not too terribly long ago, but now iOS 14.2.1 is out, and it's only available for certain devices because it's only needed for certain devices. The iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that is because of some issues that iPhone 12 users have been having, including problems with MMS messages and group text message threads. So if you noticed that where you would be having a conversation where it's green bubbles essentially, where at least one contact was not an iPhone user. Some of the messages were not being received properly, and you couldn't quite have a conversation back and forth, which is obviously very, very bad. As well as some issues with touchscreen responsiveness on the lock screen. So you would try to tap and touch and whatnot on the iPhone 12 mini and not be able to get it to kind of light up. And sometimes folks who had screen protectors wouldn't be able to. I have two questions for you, Rosemary. One, did you upgrade to an iPhone 12? And two, are you a screen protector user?
All right. Well, here is iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's blue.
Nice.
It's pretty. I love it. Plum case, if anyone's curious. And I did have a screen protector on my previous iPhone, on my iPhone 11 Pro. It was the Belkin one that needs to be installed at the Apple Store. And my screen protector broke twice. And I am waiting on I have the free replacement here right now because Belkin warranty it. So if you send them a photo of your broken screen protector, they will send you a new one. But we're in the middle of a lockdown over here, so the Apple Store is closed. So I have a screen protector, and my mom has the phone because I gave her my phone when I upgraded. But we have not yet been able to install it because, it's not possible to go to the Apple Store and fix it. So I did have it, but it broke a couple of times. And that was my fault, dropping it on concrete and tarmac in that order to break it. So I've gone screen protector free because my screen didn't get so much as a scratch either before or after I had the screen protector on and then took it off. And it seemed to be doing fine. So I am perfectly happy without a screen protector on this lovely, beautiful, slightly dusty screen.
Nice. And I was just thinking, with the new design of the iPhone, you don't have those pesky curves anymore to get in the way of a screen protector like you used to. Exactly. That was one of the most annoying things, I think, about the if you chose to use a screen protector, most of them would just be smaller than the outside edge of the screen. And some of them would have like a silicone edge that would kind of grasp those edges, but it was just not as elegant a solution. So I'm kind of excited about the return. I'm not a screen protector user. The last time I dropped my phone, the last time I broke my phone screen, I didn't break my phone screen. I had given it to, I'd handed it over to a person who was helping me by holding it with the light on so that I could see something. It was the engine of my car. And when they went to hand it back to me, they accidentally dropped it and the screen shattered. And that was the iPhone, I want to say 6. So I have not had that issue. I tend not to drop my phone, and I think that part of that is because I have monster hands that really just can grab onto the edges of it. And so I'm, lucky in that sense. And it's certainly not a value judgment that some people have more drops or anything like that. And I think that, if a screen protector, like you've mentioned, it's come in handy very much for you. I think that's awesome. And my brother, as soon as he gets a new phone, he gets a screen protector. And it's always helped him as well. I guess I didn't realize that Belkin made such high quality screen protectors. I'm on the website now looking at the new ones, the Ultra Glass antimicrobial screen protector for iPhone 12 and 12 Pro with double ion exchange glass, which is the stuff that's on the back of the glass that's on the back of the iPhone, I believe is the similar thing. So yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. The other thing that I realized when I had my last iPhone is I did not have Apple Care on my iPhone, which is why I then got the Belkin screen protector, because I thought, well, what's the most likely thing to crack? Well, it's probably going to be the glass. And that's why I had that, because I'm just going to grab it and pull it out of its battery case right here. This is my iPhone XS Max. It's kind of difficult to see. So I'm just going to try and hold it up here. But the back is actually pretty badly shattered from this point. Yeah, it's sort of spidering outwards. And that is, I believe, 650 pounds to fix. That would have been a lot of money.
That's the
because glass. I did. So long story. This is actually an iPhone from Hong Kong because it has dual SIM, which meant I could not get Apple Care on it because I did not buy it in the country I was in. And there was a whole complicated thing. And the guy at the Apple store said to me, theoretically, they might have been able to sell it to me, but he hadn't tried to put that through before. But if I ever took it in to try and get it fixed and they wanted to replace it, I would not get a dual SIM iPhone. So I left it. So.
Wow. That's a bummer.
Yeah. So this time you'll be pleased to hear that my beautiful Pacific Blue iPhone 12 Pro Max has Apple Care Plus.
Yay. And one of the things that I like about the modern Apple Care Plus is it is offered as an in-app. It's essentially an in-app purchase deal where you can either pay for it all up front or you can pay a monthly payment, which for my younger brother, for example, he doesn't have the funds to pay that up front and, still feel comfortable. And so for him to be able to just pay a little bit each month and know that if he drops his phone, he's not going to spend £600 on, or the equivalent in dollars on replacement is really helpful for him. So I told him about that and he immediately got that set up for sure.
Yeah. And it's a 0% thing as well if you're using Apple's financing, or at least here in the UK, it was for me. And so I decided to do it just because it was 0%. And it means that I have a little bit more money in my account now and I can just put it in savings. And if I have an emergency between now and the next iPhone, then I have the funds on hand. So yeah,
nice.
Can be well worth doing that.
Something that I'm sure you are excited about, iOS 14.3 Beta 2. So this is not available to everyone yet, but for developers who are running the latest versions of iOS, the second beta of iOS 14.3, which will be the next iteration of iOS 14 released, it lets you run shortcuts from the home screen without launching the Shortcuts app. And here's why this is important. If you out there have an aesthetic AF home screen where you have customized your app icons, then you know that when you tap on an app icon, it launches the Shortcuts app, which then launches the app that you're actually trying to get to. Well, Apple has realized that this is a cultural phenomenon at this point that is absolutely, something that the people have latched onto and have complained about the fact that it launched shortcuts in between, and they just wanted the app to launch directly. Well, in iOS 14.3 Beta 2, you will be able to do that, assuming, of course, that then this beta feature becomes the released version. So tell me about, so we know the aesthetic AF reasons why this is exciting, but are there other implications, especially in automation?
Well, for me, it's more of a case of what progress are we seeing here? Because originally when shortcuts came to the iPhone, a lot of people were doing shortcuts home screens. And what would happen is you would tap on the icon, it would open Safari, and then Safari would open Shortcuts, and then Shortcuts would run your shortcut, which might be opening another app. And to say that this was frustrating would be an understatement. I had hundreds of open empty Safari tabs until I remembered that if you tap and hold on the tab icon, then you can close all of your open tabs, which was a handy trick, which I still use to this day. But it was one of those things where it was frustrating. And then Apple improved it. So it would just open the Shortcuts app straight away, which was great. And then in the first beta of iOS 14.3, the stock apps weren't going into Shortcuts first. So if you were opening mail or stocks or messages, then it would just jump to that. And I am really excited to see where this goes, because I'm hoping that what will happen next is if you add a shortcut to your home screen, it will run just like it does when you run it from the widget. Now, to be clear, this is not what happens right now. If you tap on a shortcut in the widget, then it just does the overlay, the Siri overlay on your screen, where, you've still got everything that you're seeing, and it's just got a menu or whatever information at the top, and it just does it. And I'm really hoping that that is what we see next, because that would be a great way to make shortcuts really, easy for, you to set up for other people. Because let's face it, if you're watching the show, then you're somebody who is more than capable of opening the Shortcuts app, putting a couple of, steps together for whatever problem it is you want to solve, and then sharing that with somebody. I set up something a couple of years ago for my mom so that she could easily text to pay to park. And it was just an app icon on her home screen. It came up with a menu where she picked which car she had with her, and then it would just send off the text message, and the rest was, history. It's great that we can do this. So I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to make that even easier for our friends and family.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Up next, we have feedback. All right, let us do our feedback. The first bit of feedback comes from Jean from Illinois. Jean writes in to say, I see that Apple groups all my apps onto the last page on the iPhone. I spent a lot of time organizing the apps the way I like them and the folders the way I like them. Will all that go in lieu of Apple's groupings? And if iOS 14 keeps both versions, will that not duplicate the amount of space used on my phone? Gene, this is a fair question and a good question. I want to mention, first of all, that I recently released an episode of Hands on iOS called Understanding App Library in iOS 14. That last page that you talk about is called App Library. And so I go into the explanation of what App Library is, how it works, and kind of what you need to do to get to those screens and to use it. And in fact, you mentioned it comes at the very end, so I'll show you here. I can swipe over to the left, and App Library is the next thing that pops up. Gene, the question that you have about the fact that if iOS 14 keeps both versions, will that not duplicate the amount of space used on my phone? If you've ever used a computer and you've created a shortcut, meaning that your app is stored in one place, but let's say on your desktop or somewhere else you've got access to the internet, and you double click on that to launch your browser. It isn't making two copies of the browser. Instead, it is the original copy, and the second one is just a reference to. It is pointing to that. So App Library and the apps that you have in your folders, those are the same app. It's just it's made two places to show the icon to launch that one app. So you may have 6 different buttons that in different places that show the Facebook app. But when you tap on that, it is still just launching the one Facebook app. So no worries there. It won't take up any more storage on you, which, is a fair question and something that I, certainly would be concerned about. And as far as having the folders organized the way that you like them, that's one of the beauties of the way that App Library works, where for those of us like me, who at one point was just like Eugene, someone who organized stuff very, very carefully and eventually gave up because I had too many apps. I love the App Library for being able to organize these for me. But if you want to, you can still keep those apps organized for you in the way that you like them. And we can do this. I'm going to show you now. We will tap and hold on the bottom of the screen next to those home screen indicators at the bottom. And then you see that it launches jiggle mode. So we're in jiggle mode. And now you see the home screen indicator buttons have this sort of light gray lozenge around it. If we tap on that, it brings up all of these different home screens. And so now I can tap to include those home screens where you may have your folders organized, or tap to exclude those home screens so that it takes them away. For me, I didn't want my folders because I don't have them organized in categories or anything like that. But for you, you probably want to keep those home screens available to you instead of using the App Library. That makes me wonder, Rosemary Orchard, are you an App Library stan, or are you still old school categories or folders? I mean, which one do you prefer?
I have a few folders on my home screen. So I have an audio folder, which has got music, Overcast, Audible, and a couple of other apps in. But the vast majority of my apps now live exclusively in the App Library because for the vast majority of the time, if it's not immediately under my thumb on my home screen, I use search to find the app and launch it anyway. So I don't need it on my home screen. I just have the few apps that I want notification badges from, and or to have very, very quick access to, and everything else goes in my app library.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Jean, for your question. I hope that helped. The next one is the perfect time to be asking this question, given that we have Rosemary here with us. And so I tasked her with potentially having an answer for this. So that I will read the question and then you can take it away. So Craig from Maryland writes in to say, I was watching your Hands on iOS show. Thank you for tuning into that one. And it inspired me to try to set the back tap, which is that feature on iOS that lets you tap on the back of your phone 2 or 3 times to trigger some sort of gesture. One of the funny things is that Leo Laporte has one set up where he would send me a message every morning on Tuesdays that says, hey, Mikah, I'm currently on the way to the TWiT studios. I will be there at X, and it would give the ETA and say, I am currently at this place and I'm not in a ditch. And that's kind of a little bit of an inside joke, but it was just that anytime someone's running late by too much, I'm always concerned that they're in a ditch somewhere and that they, have not made it. So he started to do that so that I knew how far away he was from the studio so that we could get iOS Today started, and I knew he was A-okay. So he has a back tap set up to trigger that shortcut, but oftentimes in times when he doesn't mean to, it will trigger that shortcut. So I'll just get random messages from Leo letting me know that he's not in a ditch and is X minutes away from the studio, which is however far his house is away. But anyway, that's back tap. And Craig says that they have a custom shortcut that they wanted to try. What I really want to do is when I back tap my phone, it should check for airplane mode. If airplane mode is off, it should turn on airplane mode, go to low power mode, and turn the screen brightness down to 2%. But if airplane mode is on, then it should turn off airplane mode, go out of low power mode, and turn the screen brightness back up to 80%. The problem is, Craig writes, I can't seem to figure out how to make the shortcut if statement check whether airplane mode is on or off. I could make this work if I could check whether low power mode is on or off, or even if I could check the brightness level. The only thing I've been able to do is set a personal automation such that when airplane mode is turned on, it sets the other desired settings, and another personal automation to the other way that when airplane mode is turned off. It's not exactly what I want to do, but close. Now, I would like back tap to toggle airplane mode, and I can't do that either. So I set my back tap to open the control panel, then I have to manually turn on or off airplane mode, and the other automation steps take over. Craig writes, am I missing something? Is there another way to do what I really want to do rather than that hacky way to do it? And so I tasked Rosemary with coming up with a solution if there is one. So let me know what you've discovered or not discovered.
Well, first of all, Craig is absolutely right. There is no way to check whether or not your phone is in airplane mode, whether or not your phone is in do not disturb. Do not disturb is one you can do, but low power mode. But you can check screen brightness. And the way that you can do that is if you look for the shortcut action called Get Device Details, and then you tap on that option. Then, so it says get the device name. That is the default one. And if you tap on that, then it gives you a couple of options. You can get the model if it's an Apple Watch, a system version, a screen width, a screen height, current volume, current appearance, which is light or dark mode, and current brightness. And the current brightness may well help Craig out here if he's not got adaptive brightness on. Now, if you do have adaptive brightness on, then that is, of course, going to mess with things. So, as well as this, I have a backup solution. Because you never come prepared with just one solution for a problem like this. And so I thought, how can we do this? And I thought that there could be an easier way of handling things, which is adding a manual check, which sets whether or not airplane mode is on by saving a file either onto your iPhone or into iCloud. And if you don't have iCloud enabled, then this will just save onto your phone by default. But what I do, and I've got a little shortcut here, which hopefully we'll be able to share with you, Craig. But what I do is get a file, and I've just called this file is airplane mode, and it's a text file. And if the file is empty, then it assumes the airplane mode is off. And then you can do whatever it is that you like. And then there's a text section, and it says on, and it sets a variable. And then in the otherwise, again, you would do whatever actions you like. And then there's a text, which is empty, and this is on purpose, and it sets this airplane mode variable. And then afterwards, it sets the name of the airplane mode variable to its airplane mode and saves that back into iCloud. And so the idea is that when you toggle airplane mode, you use this shortcut, and it will change the variable in the file, and it will just say on if you toggle airplane mode on, and it will say off if you toggle airplane mode off. But you will need to run this shortcut or something similar to it every time you do it. Now, there are a couple of other ways you could do this. If you use an app like Toolbox Pro, then they have a feature called global variables, which means that you can have a variable that you can reuse between runs of a shortcut. Because if you're using shortcuts and you set a variable, when you finish with that shortcut, your variable disappears and it's gone. So a global variable from Toolbox Pro persists, and it means that you can reuse it between multiple shortcuts and also between the running of one shortcut multiple times over days, weeks, months, or even years. And there's another app as well, which I think also deserves a mention here, called Data Jar. And that is free. And the idea is that you store data for shortcuts in it. So I've used this to create an entirely custom sat-nav system for my car. So when I tap my phone on an NFC tag in my car, then it pulls up a list of potential destinations based on some favorites, based on my calendar and some other stuff. And those favorites are saved in Data Jar with little icons and everything. And it's a very complicated and very long shortcut, which I probably spent way too much time doing. But it's the perfect place to save data that you want to have access to, and maybe to be able to go in and toggle manually if something happens and you've, turned airplane mode on, or you've rebooted your phone and now the variable doesn't match up.
So then I wonder, so if he has, if with personal automations, there is a way to muck about with airplane mode. Could it be that the personal automation says that when airplane mode is turned on, then edit that text file, and then when airplane mode is turned off, edit that text file, which he could then use the shortcut that you're talking about here, where backtap looks to that text file.
Yeah.
And then it will do what he wants. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Craig's case, I would definitely recommend he creates a shortcut, which is called toggle airplane mode, which does the things that he likes. And if we can get him the link, then he can see, I've got some comments in the sample shortcut that I created, where he can, see, this means that it's on versus this means that airplane mode is off. And then you put your actions inside of that, because inside of the double tap, now there's, you can use your accessibility shortcut. You can open the home screen, you can do Siri, all sorts of things, but you can also just straight run a shortcut, which will then allow you to turn airplane mode on or turn airplane mode off, etc. So there's a couple of options there that Craig can explore. And hopefully he's going to find a solution that works for him.
Amazing. Craig, we will include links to Rosemary's shortcut that she's added here, as well as a link for other people who want to check out Toolbox Pro and Data Jar. So you folks can check that out as well. Amazing. You came with more than I even expected, and I love it. And I'm sure Craig is going to be very pumped. One last bit of feedback. Zeke from Florida writes in to say, hello. I recall a recommendation from Leo about an app that would print and send you photos from your phone. I think there was more to it than that and was wondering what it was. Well, Zeke, I have some good news for you. iOS Today, episode 512, is the episode where we showed you a bunch of ways to send cards with iOS. And in that app, we talked about a bunch of different apps that will let you do just that, as well as send photos in the mail. So check out that episode, iOS Today, episode 512. Even if you just go to the URL that we include, it has links to the different apps that we talked about. So you'll learn the, I think there was more to it than that, you wrote. So yes, you will learn the more to it than that by checking that out. All right. I believe it is time for us to place our app caps atop our heads.
This doesn't work as well with headphones as I'd hoped, but yours is amazing.
Yeah, what I have to do is put in the in-ear monitors when it is time to wear hats on the app cap day, because normally I wear the big headphones. I believe we have the same pair. Perhaps are you wearing the Sony headphones? Is that what you have?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I am.
We have the same ones. But on the days when I have iOS, I put in the in-ear monitors. I don't even know what this accent is. I apologize. Anyway, we wear these hats on our heads to honor our app caps. Those are the app picks of the week, the apps we're using or loving right now that we want to share with all of you. Rosemary Orchard, what is your app cap?
Well, my app cap is more than an app. This was a Kickstarter project a while ago. I'm very pleased to report they delivered. And this is a Pivo. I'll just lean back. It's got a little sticker on it with my name on. That's something I added myself. But it's a holder for your iPhone. And so I'm just going to try and toggle the camera here. And I'm going to see if I can show you on screen. So it should be recognizing my face. And there's a little red circle around my face. But if I move my phone, then it will actually rotate my phone to keep my face in view.
What?
And there's a whole bunch of features that you can use as part of Pivo. It will do an automatic panorama for you and all sorts of great things. And it is a great way of taking some fun photos or videos that you can then share with other people this holiday season. And the way it works is you pop your phone into the section here, and then you screw it up. I'm looking at my camera instead of the way that I do this. And so you just tighten it up. It's got a little spirit level on there as well, right over at the front. And on the bottom, it has a standard tripod mount. And the app is free, which is great. And the actual Pivo part is available on sale this week because it's Black Friday. And so that is a great opportunity to get it. But it can do face tracking, can do body tracking, it can do horse tracking, and it can also do general pet tracking. And
sorry, did you say horse tracking?
Yes. Horse.
Okay, cool.
As in when horses are galloping or something, then it will look for a horse specifically and follow it, which I guess horses move differently enough to humans that they felt that it was a useful feature to include. But there's a whole bunch of things that you can try out in this app, and they've got videos on how to use it. It can do sort of photos where, say, for example, you have a semicircle of, little pillars that you could stand on, where you could stand on the first one and it would take a picture, and then it pauses while you run to the next one and do a different pose. And then there are 5 of you standing on 5 different pillars in one panorama shot. Without, the weird blurry movement necessarily in between. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do with Pivo. And it's not that bad. I believe it's £76 at the moment on a sale for Black Friday. So it's not the cheapest gadget, but it's small. It recharges via micro USB. And I am looking forward to using this a lot next year when I can get back into travel. But I'm also using it at the moment because I finished redecorating my place, and I'm using it to take really lovely panoramas of all of my rooms to share with my grandparents, who I would otherwise not be seeing because, there's a global pandemic.
Right. Well, that is very cool. So you can get it on the website. That's where you purchase the device itself? All right.
Yeah. So I got it through Kickstarter originally, but it's available on the website as well at getpivo.com.
Awesome. Well, my app cap this week this is something that for the longest time, there was, of course, an NFC chip inside of iPhones. As long as Apple Pay has been around, there's been an NFC chip inside of iPhones. But despite the fact that there's been an NFC chip, there has not always been access to that NFC chip outside of Apple Pay. Apple eventually added the ability to make changes to, or rather not make changes to, but use that NFC chip and read NFC tags. And a lot of people have used those for automations. The problem is that belief that NFC is not as usable has kind of persisted. And so it's not necessarily known that you can not only read from NFC tags, but also write to NFC tags. And one of those tools that's available is one called NFC Tools in the App Store. And it's a very simple app, but it lets you write and read NFC tags. And the reason that I've been using this lately is because I have been updating a lot of my HomeKit devices to use the NFC method for adding those devices to my home. Apple, when it released a newer version, an updated version of the HomeKit protocol, one of the things that it did was give manufacturers of HomeKit products the ability to include an NFC chip inside their devices so that I could, when I go to add an app to the Home app, I can just bring my phone up close to it. It can read that NFC tag and add it to the device. That also means, though, that you can, with certain HomeKit, they have to be newer HomeKit products. But with newer HomeKit products, even if they don't have an NFC tag, you can basically add one. And so I kind of was going around and updating a lot of mine that have the ability to use NFC instead. And I've also gone a bit NFC wild as of late because I've got a whole bunch of NFC tags and I have not made use of them in a while. And so I wanted to start, getting back into that because there for a while I was using them for a lot of health related stuff. So there's one on a blood pressure cuff monitor dealy bob that I have where I take it's not a Bluetooth smart thing or anything like that. It's just a normal blood pressure reader. And I take my blood pressure, but then I can tap my phone onto the NFC tag that's there, and it runs an automation that asks me for the systolic and diastolic readings and then logs that in my health app. Super simple. And then I have one for the medicines that I take where I can just tap on the top of the bottle and it will mark that as completed. And then I am trying to, it was just recently added to a beta of iOS 14 finally, but the toothbrushing option became a data point instead of being just a shortcut to the toothbrushing section of the health app. So being able to tap and log my toothbrushing every day. So I've been using these a lot, but I wanted to add them to other stuff that I do besides just health. And so along with, like I said, writing, the NFC Tools app lets you read them. So I can tap the read button and then up pops the normal NFC scanning prompt. And I put my NFC tag up towards the top of the iPhone because that's where the NFC reader is. And then it shows what kind of tag it is, what technologies are available in it. You can copy all that information, the serial number, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What's cool is that you can also erase a tag. You can lock a tag so that it has so that it's not writable afterwards. You can set a password for a tag. You can remove a password for a tag. You can completely format the memory and basically reset the tag. But then in writing the tag, this means that what I could do is create a link to iOS Today, for example. And then by tapping on that, I would then pop open iOS Today. But you can also set up custom both URLs and URIs, meaning that you can have it launch apps, you can have it do different things. And in fact, the HomeKit tag is a custom URI that requires a special payload. There's a bunch that's to it, but it's pretty neat on how easy it is to get that set up afterwards. You can also add contact information. So I could set it up to where all my, I could send a photo of myself to my great grandma who has an iPhone, and an NFC tag would be on the back of it. And I say, great grandma, all you have to do is bring your phone up to my photo, and then it will place a FaceTime call to me. And so then she would be able to talk to me on the phone without having to fool about with how to get that all set up. You can add Bluetooth connectivity to it. So you can set it up to where it connects to a Bluetooth device properly. You can add one to your Wi-Fi network. So I can put Wi-Fi information on here so that when the phone comes up close to the NFC tag, it will then prompt me to connect to a Wi-Fi network. You can add custom data. And you can use it. This app specifically has one called Shortcut, which is basically using the URI property to where all you do is type in the name of the shortcut in the Shortcuts app that you want to use, and then it will create a custom URI to where it will launch that shortcut just from tapping on the tag. So lots of options here in both writing and reading. And I think that it's that first part that's very important, that folks know that you can write to NFC tags on iOS. It's just that it's a newer technology on iOS, or newer option on iOS that was not previously available. But I've also, it's funny that you that was a 10S, right? That you showed us with the broken background or the broken back on it. Yeah. I also have a 10S. Mine is not broken, but it is also, writable, 10S Max, and it is also able to write NFC. I believe it was the 10S that was the first one. It was either the 10 or the 10. It was the 10S. Okay. Yeah. That had the ability to read NFC tags kind of constantly. So whereas before with the 10 specifically, and I think the 8, you would have to let the phone know, I want to read an NFC tag, and then it could read it. But 10S does it. Was
so you
it
had to wake
scanning?
up the phone. Yeah, you had to wake up the phone, unlock it, open an NFC scanning app, and then it would be able to scan the NFC tag. But then, and that was the year that I wasn't going to upgrade. And then the 10S Max came out, or 10S and the 10S Max came out. And then they said, oh, and there's active scanning for NFC tags.
And you said,
great. At which point I went, oh, and bought a new iPhone. That was not the only reason. I did go Max that year, and I did not regret going Max. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits to that, but it's great that we can do that. And I love NFC tags. I have one in my car that runs my sat nav. I have one by the bed which opens dark noise. Runs a shortcut, opens dark noise, and plays my favorite night sound from dark noise on my iPhone, but through AirPlay to a speaker in my bedroom. And I've got one right here that let me know when I started that I was podcasting with you, because I tapped my phone on it and it set up my lights and everything for podcasting. And here I am.
Nice. I'm going to have to do that myself because I've got a shortcut, a scene in HomeKit called On Air, and it turns on the different lights in my space. So I'm not a big fan of using my voice to activate those things. So what I typically do is go and launch the Home app either on my phone or somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. I can set up an NFC tag on my desk or something that then will launch that scene.
And you can use the trick that I showed Craig earlier to save that status somewhere. And then you can also tap on your phone afterwards and check the status. And if you're on air, it can take you off air as well to match.
Ah, beautiful. Love it. There you go. Rosemary Orchard, thank you so much for being here this week with me to do iOS Today. As per usual, you absolutely rocked it, and we appreciate it. Do you have anything you want to plug? And also, where can folks go to find you online?
Well, the best place to find me, rosemaryorchard.com. That's links to my 2 podcasts, which I'm going to plug. Automators on Relay FM and Nested Folders, which is an independent podcast about productivity. Automators is all about automation, and including my crazy home setup, which I think, Mikah, you probably will have enjoyed listening to, because I stole a lot of ideas from you and Matthew Castanelli. So thank you very much for those.
Yes, and thank you for your constant inspiration as well, and some jealousy that I may or may not have about how brilliantly you come up with some of these automation solutions. I think it's fantastic. Folks, if you have questions and feedback that you have for us, you can send those to iostoday@twit.tv. That you can send it to us in audio, video, or text formats. If it's audio or video, go ahead and keep it to 30 seconds or less. We do appreciate that, but we love answering your questions and appreciate that as well. Of course, you can tune in live to the show if you want. We record it about 9:30 every Tuesday. That's Pacific time, which is 1:30 Eastern, I believe. And you just go to twit.tv/live to check that out. But the best way to get the show is by subscribing, because that way you get it whenever you're ready for it. Instead of you coming to us, we come to you. And you can do that by going to twit.tv/iOS. And you will find links to the show in both audio and video formats in all the different places we exist: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. So do go check that out. And we appreciate it. And we appreciate you, Rosemary, again, for joining us this week on iOS Today.
I'm Jason Howell, host of Tech News Weekly here on TWiT.tv, along with my co-host, Mikah Sargent. Each and every week, we talk to people who are making and breaking the tech news. It could be journalists writing amazing tech stories. It could be experts. It could be the sources of the stories themselves, developers, you name it. We bring them onto the show, and we talk to them about why their story is resonating with the world. You can watch and subscribe by going to twit.tv/TNW. Make sure you do that, and you won't miss a single episode. We'll see you there.